Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the special budget meeting for June 19th, 2017. Roll call.
Supervisor Foy. Supervisor Long.
Here.
Supervisor Bennett.
Here.
Supervisor Parks.
Here.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
Here. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Michael, can you help us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is agenda review. Do we have any concerns or changes? Mike?
We do have one, Chair Zaragoza. Item 6, Exhibit 3, post-preliminary budget adjustment has been submitted.
Okay. I don't have any public comment cards.
Move the agenda as revised. Yes.
Motion to, okay. Second. Please vote. And again, I don't have any public comments. If there's anybody in the audience would like to speak under public comments, right now is the time. I don't have any cards. So, okay, so I got a statement to read here. We're going to conduct the Ventura County hearing on the adoption of the fiscal year 2017-18 budget and receive public testimony. The budget times schedule are going to be at 1:30, which is today, and also public testimony starting at 6 p.m. this evening. The hearing will continue on a daily basis. It must be completed within 14 calendar days if it's not approved. This is the official opening, and I'm going to read the statement. It says, a public hearing on fiscal year 2017-18 recommended budgets for the County General Fund, the Fire Protection District, the Watershed Protection District, the Waterworks District, the county service areas, and non-general fund activities under the control of the Board of Supervisors is now open for public comment from departments and agencies. And next item, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza. Well, we'll get right to it. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is really a culmination of all their great work over the last 6 months or so. And then we've also the last 3 months heard some presentations from departments. Rather than doing them all on the last day, trying to pack it all in, it's way too much for one afternoon. But if there's any adjustments or questions your board have, we can do that during this time as well. But I thought I'd start off with asking our CFO, Catherine Rodriguez, to lay out the budget for us.
Thank you, CEO Powers. For the record, my name is Catherine Rodriguez, the County CFO. Good afternoon, Chair Zaragoza.
Good afternoon.
Members of the board. Presentation today will have sections that would highlights the overview of the 2017-18 recommended budget. We also have some update on the third quarter budget update, the performance measures during the fiscal year 2016-17. And also we have the departments here. We would like to acknowledge them so that if your board has some questions, they're here to support me to answer your questions. Thank you. So this is just the order of events, as you said earlier, just going through the different sections to where we have to go through for today. The budget guiding principles, we always have this, the fiscal discipline, the prudent, conservative, trying to make sure that we are being realistic with our revenue projections, always aligned with the strategic plan from the county. And we have the openness with the community in terms of disclosure and transparency. And we have to make sure that we have as a guiding principle to deliver county services effectively and efficiently. So the budget process, we've gone through this, and then now we're on the last one, which is the budget hearings, which would then be another one this evening. Highlights of the preliminary budgets, you've seen this slide from the previous presentation. This is just for the preliminary. We started at $2.24 billion for the total budget. And we have the general fund appropriations at $1.08 billion. General purpose revenues stayed the same at $396 million. And highlighting the reductions, although we have maintained the current levels, those for the last 3 years. This year posed really a challenge in HSS for CalWorks and CalFresh. And full-time equivalent employees, this is the prelim, we have 8,972. We have a further reduction in that to reflect those reductions. And as a result, we have a structured budget that's balanced. We have increasing reserves, which we have to go through that later on. And we have, as I said, services are maintained, including on those expanded areas. And we continue to invest in infrastructure and technology, and reinforced high credit rating is maintained. Unassigned fund balance, we're at 13%. Although, as in our comprehensive annual financial reports, it's already reflected at 15%. And as you can see, it's increasing in dollar value, and now we're at 13%.
Could I ask a question on that
Sure.
slide? This has, over the years, been my favorite slide. But I noticed there's a slight change in it, in that it used to be 0 for 2001, 2002, and now the way the chart is, it's something below 10 million, but it's not clear that it's 0. Is it still 0 in terms of
That's
where you were at
negative.
2001 and 2002?
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yes, it's 0.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, that just didn't go, it didn't go halfway down, and I didn't know what that meant. All right, great. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having that slide in here each time.
That was a negative number, is that what? Back then?
I forgot to mention, that's your favorite slide indeed. That's right. And here is the actual activity during the past 2 years, detailing all those investments that were done, that's been funded through our assigned fund balance. And 15-16, we have $20 million. And then on 16-17, we're at $10 million. And the status of a reserve, assigned and assigned fund balance. The total assigned is growing by $3 million, which is ending up at $31 million. And it details out there which categories were assigned for the total assigned, such as we now have the program mitigation, we have the Todd Road Jail, which required a match of 6.1. They have a 1.1 remaining in that. And the unassigned, as mentioned earlier, is at 13%. We're adding $5 million as a recommendation from the 2016-17 performance to take it to $141 million. So this is the overall picture of all the different buckets of the reserves. We have an unassigned, which is at the $141 million. The assigned, which was detailed in the previous slide, which is going into $30.7 million. And we have restricted the non-spendable totaling to $175 million. So our goal or target is at 15%. So that's $162 million. We're at the $140.9 million.
I just want to point out that we've grown the unassigned by $5 million, grown the assigned by $3 million, and yet we still stay at 13% because the overall budget is growing. So it gets increasingly challenging to keep growing your reserves to also grow your percentage. You're doing well if you hold your reserves. Just to hold at 13%, you have to grow your reserves percentage-wise and stuff. So, so I just want to recognize that that's it's a growing challenge. I mean, if you get to 14%, then you have to have even more to hold at 14%.
Just like Michael?
Yeah, to your point, Supervisor, particularly the last 3 or so years where we've increased staffing, particularly in child protective, adult protective services, and eligibility resources, that's been an even greater challenge, and we've had some market increases on top of our cost of living increases, as well as our flex credit increases. So, but we start to see with this budget that leveling off a little bit. The cost will still go up, but probably not at the same pace that it has been.
Yeah. So anyway, nice work, even just being able to continue to grow reserves. Right.
Now, this is the breakdown of the total budget. This includes the post-preliminary adjustments. $2.243 billion is the total. And the breakdown having general fund at 49% of that, which is $1.084 billion. So at the bottom of the table, it shows the general fund is growing 2.8%. And the non-general fund is growing 4.3%. And overall, the budget is growing by $77 million or 3.5%. And it's allocated into those different departments on the chart, on the pie chart, which is Fire Protection District is 179. And then we have $1 million, and then Watershed Protection District at 73. And as you can see, VCMC accounts for 24%. And then this is the trend of the full-time equivalents. Since 2006 and 7 up to 17-18, the post-preliminary is going down by 33 on the 17-18 from last year. So it's 8,986 down to 8,953, as well as the general fund FTEs. And so this is the breakdown by departments in terms of what are the composition of that 8,953. As you can see, the Health and Human Services as the highest is 2,454, followed by the Public Safety at 2,084 FTEs. And on the next slide, it shows where the adjustments are for this fiscal year coming up, the 17-18. So we're projecting a 33 FTEs decrease, and those are the decreases that you can see from each department. Like Health and Human Services, we have 33, Public Safety 9, the Enterprise Fund, Ventura County Healthcare Plan is going down by 11. And most of this actually some of this are coming from our cleanup that we did this fiscal year, trying to reduce or delete some of those unfunded positions to get a better, meaningful FTE counts. The post-preliminary adjustments coming in at 2.237 at preliminary budget. We're putting in $6 million worth of adjustments. That would take us to $2.243 billion for post-preliminary. So these are the post-preliminary adjustments. In summary, our appropriations is going to increase the general fund by $2.5 million. Is offset by revenue, so there's no net county cost increase in the general fund. And in the non-general fund, we have an appropriations of $4.17 million, and the revenue increase is $1.9 million. The gap there is being funded through the reserves that's I'm going to go through with the specific departments using the reserves. So on the general fund, we have 2.5. The detail follows $57,000 from HSA. There's a duplication of entries in the transitional living center, so we have to adjust that out of $57,000. And then on the Sheriff Police Services, there's a $50,000 request that would be taken off from their health and safety restricted trust that would be used for the outside organizations' contributions to combat drug abuse and divert gang activities. And then on the county council, we're adding $240,000 for an additional civil attorney for Laura's law implementation and the increase in caseloads. Now on the special accounts and contribution, to where we put in special contributions to different accounts. One of them is this, which was approved by your board a week ago or so, $200,000 for the Farm Worker Resource Program. Goal is that the Ventura County will end up as the first choice destination for the work in agriculture, and we're requesting your board for a $200,000 improvement on that. And then for the IHSS maintenance of efforts shift in cost due to the formula, we have a $1 million impact, and $600,000 of which is going to come from the realignment trust, and $400,000 was coming from the general fund. And the design, and then here come the Potrero road bike lane projects for phases 1 and 2. We have a total of $500,000 for phase 1 and 2 for the design and environmental work. And debt service, we are increasing it by 1.482 in appropriations. The recalculation of the borrowing, the coupon rate was assumed at 2%, but it was sold at 4%. So the net impact for that transaction gave us an additional $300,000 in net savings. In non-general fund area, because again the change in the MOE on the January recommended proposal budget from the governor's office was revised in May, and that dropped. So the impact to that decrease from the May revise resulted about $7 million, but with some adjustments or expansion, so the net came down to $6.662 million decrease. Now, in an enterprise fund, we also have the airport capital projects, totaling to additional of 10.341. The budget reflected $700K, and we're putting in additional 10.341. It was inadvertently miskeyed, so we're trying to correct that. Total FTE net change, we have 19 decrease. Most of them is coming from Human Services Agency for those post-preliminary, which is the Employment Specialist 3. There are support services due to the cuts of CallFresh
And Catherine, that does not affect, excuse me, that does not affect the service we're providing to the constituency?
No,
The
because-
reduction yeah.
Yeah.
Even though we're going down in FTEs, that does not reduce the efficiency and the service to the community.
That's correct,
Yeah.
Supervisor. The Director, of course, Healthcare Human Services Agency is in the audience,
Okay.
and they are very diligent in trying to make sure this reflects what's on the caseload right now because of the improvement in economy, that the need for the beneficiaries is now declining, so that that reflects
So
this
that's a reason
reduction.
for that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
In addition to this is the priority projects for the non-general fund we're adding in. For the Potrero Road bike lane path, we're estimating additional $1.5 to $2 million funding toward future projects. And we're committing to a long-term plan to fund the A and B category projects. And our goal is to have Ventura County, that location, to be a bicycle-friendly community. And in addition to that, also, we have the VCMC time and attendance of approximately $230,000. And under consideration is the Fillmore Library Committee meeting room, which is approximately 2,000 square feet. And so we're trying to put that and add it into this recommended projects. Here's another summary of where we are from the adopted 2016-17 budget as compared to 2017-18 post-preliminary budget. The change, as you can see, is on the appropriation is $29 million, and then it's balanced, and it's growing by $18 million on the general purpose revenue as well as the net county cost, so it's balanced to zero. And here is the general fund appropriations and the breakdown of such. 42% of such is going to the public safety, or $451 million. And the health and human services is at 41% of that pie, which is 440. And then we have the general government, the other, and the environmental, those small slices. A general purpose revenue of $397 million, to where your board has the discretion on how this is spent. Most of the funding is coming from the taxes. So the public safety accounts for 60% of that, which is about $238 million. The health and human services accounts for $49 million, or 12%. And then we have the environmental balance, RMA, and those is at 3%. And then general government is $42 million, at 10%, and other general fund, which is a $58 million, or 15%. Just a quick update of the third quarter of 2016-17 current fiscal year. Because of the strong leadership and collaboration from our department managers, we are happy to say that we're estimating an $8 million to go through to the fund balance, an increase of $8 million. That's why on the previous slides you can see that the assigned and unassigned balance is being increased for this $8 million. Also, as our labor negotiations is in progress, 90% of that has been already been covered, and we completed the fiscal reclassification study. We have provided market adjustments and flex credit increases, and then the PEPRA savings is now at 28%, or 2,380 of our employees.
If I could, just to point out, I think it's appropriate to point out that this fund balance going into reserves is a policy change that started in 2001 and is a major reason, but in the in the 1990s, all through the 1990s, the fund balance was budgeted as a ongoing revenue source, and it is one of the reasons why the reserves were dropping, and this has been certainly the steady bulwark of the reason why the fund balance reserves have been able to grow since then. So I just think it's healthy to point that out every 16 years or so, that a policy change has made a difference, but that is a much more sound budgeting principle here.
So that's money for a rainy day. Huh?
Congratulations to staff.
Good job.
Yeah.
Now, this is our multi-year forecast, which presents from this fiscal year going down to 2021. There's a little bit of a challenge, but I'd say that the upcoming years we're close to closing the gap. We're projecting a $3 million deficits for those next years. And on the retirement increase, we had $8.9 million increase for 17-18, and that on the next fiscal years, that number is going to go down, as well as the general fund retirement changes. So every year it's
Michael?
For next fiscal year.
Thank you, Chair. And just to remind folks that this is a conservative forecast and includes a lowering of the assumption rate for purposes of our pension returns.
That's correct. Thank you, Mike.
And then
So the rate of growth in pension is projected to drop. The rate of growth in
the rate, yes, is projected to dip down.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what we're speaking about too is the assumption rate for the return on the investments from the
Right.
pension system. We're assuming it's going to be dropped. Because
Right.
that's certainly the trend that's heading, and we
Yeah.
wanted to anticipate that as we looked out in the future years.
Yeah.
And these next slides here that you're going to see, one of the things that your board has also as a policy wanted us to do is to do performance-based measures, and certainly they're well represented in the budget document itself, but we wanted to just highlight a few. We won't run through each of them, but just that's the purpose of these measures here, just to report them out to you as part of our budget process.
And those performance measures are very important,
Yes.
Yeah, good, okay.
Yeah. It comes to first start with the public safety. We have district attorney. They're really good. Looking at their conviction rates at 100% in the sexual assault unit. And then the felony trials unit has maintained 96% conviction rate at trials. And we have 1,374 victims that were provided services to under the 1170H cases. Those are the cases to where they would have to come from the state. Now it's being prison over the county. So we have 1,374 in there, so it's growing. And then on probation agency, another success in there is that we have 95% of the goal for the minors has successfully completed their electronic monitoring contract, so they're very compliant. And the public defender, we have the VCJIS system, to where they have to record all their daily case management reports. And then that is a very use of technology allows them to get a real-time, on-time type of data case, trying to get those cases and get the information promptly. And then on the Sheriff Detention Services, we also have the electronic monitoring unit. They have a success rate of 96.4% with the compliance with the program. And then on the Sheriff Police Services, we have the sheriff for this fiscal year had conducted the first human trafficking electronic intercept case in the United States. It resulted in the arrest of 5 human traffickers. And then these are the motel operations and the street stuff, and that as well as the massage places to where they were able to. Yeah.
And Catherine, that's a really important program, because we've had quite a few agencies and public people that want to do that happen, and I think I want to thank thank him for that. I think it's really, really great that we're doing that.
Yes, and now changing into general government, we have the assessor's office implementing an office-wide automation call, improving their response times. They have also reviewed 40,000 properties for decline or restoration of assessed value. And on the use of the electronic, again, they're able to process the commercial, the industrial, and manufactured home assessments. Auditor Controller, Jeff's right there, smiling. Have expanded the rollout of electronic, I think that's ROLL, I think, electronic payments to large volume vendors to reduce check payment processing. That means costs. And they also are 32nd consecutive year that they have been awarded the GFOA Certificate of Achievement of Excellence, which is above beyond the requirements in there, which is for the government accounting principles beyond that, and is for full transparency. And then we have the county clerk and recorder, the e-recording approximately to 40% of the official record recordings. We also have the Vote Cal, which is, this is a system to where the state has now instituted this, a big $98 million of investment, so that the voters now, when they try to relocate, that they were able to transfer those information into the system, because there's about 51 counties participating in that program. Now, County Council has successfully obtained a favorable dismissal of the federal claims lawsuit filed on the Epona states regarding the wedding receptions permits, the Hidden Valley. Treasurer Tax Collector has the highest possible rating as well, issued by Standard & Poor's on the investment pool. And they have received an Excellence of Award from the Association of Public Treasurers in the United States and Canada.
And Catherine, that's going to save us a lot of money, right? For borrowing money and so forth. How many millions are we looking at?
So these are the investment.
Well, but the other one is the
right.
is the
so-
FICO scores. But
right.
this is Judge Hintz.
This gives us a real assurance that those investments are being handled conservatively and they're compliant to the regulations.
But on the other side, on the borrowing side, is going to save us a lot of money.
Yes.
Okay.
And on the environmental balance, we have the Agricultural Commissioner, which is the Peers Disease Control Program. It's on the control of those infested and non-infested counties, to where they have quarantine areas on how those nursery stocks are being migrated from one area to the other area.
Catherine, I have a question too regarding the Agriculture Commissioner. I see that they're getting 5 full-time employees. Is that right?
That's correct.
And is that for how are those being?
So 4 of those are for the insects, for more inspections, and then one of them is to improve their billing, which is for the accounting officer.
Because I know like certain times a year we'll see an uptick in them getting inspectors, like for the glassy wing sharpshooters and all that. So, but these are year-round full-time employees?
Correct, yes. And then on the animal services, proud to say that we have achieved the 93.4% live release rates. And they also have implemented email license renewals, which is now on a multi-year instead of the, on a custom receipts, better for internal control instead of them coming back and forth. They now have the ability to have a multi-year licensing.
Do you know if the 5, particularly the inspectors, do those come with federal funds to pay for them?
A portion of such has been taken on the general fund. But for the full price, I believe, and I'm going to go back and turn, if they were full funded.
So oftentimes they come with a grant.
Yeah. We'll come back for
Okay,
you
thank you.
for that answer on that one.
Tara saying no. Oh, no, there, okay.
No, it's the ag.
Oh, the ag, okay.
Yeah. And then and then we have the farm advisor. We have really smart people there. We have the UC doctors' degrees to help on the local business and communities thrive well on their water management, soil irrigation, and such. And then we have the Public Works Agency, the use of the survey map review. And then we have the floodplain management resulted into a savings, actually, for the homeowners of about what equates to 25% reduction. And then RMA, we have maintained a 99% next day processing of all building inspection requests. So basically, you call on a Monday, they would come out and show up on a Tuesday. And then also they have on the Health and Human Services, the Area Agency on Aging, we have the Home Share Program. More than 400 clients are home seekers, and fiscal year to date, 92 of them were matched. Since the program was open, we have approximately 132 people that were matched. And we have the HCA, the medical examiner. It's the use of the NAM-US, which is a national database to catalog unidentified remains. It's important to have this ability to be able to database to where anyone can go there and really look at the information so that those unsolved mysteries of the missing persons are now able to get the information shared with the other jurisdictions, law enforcement, and such. Now, on the mental health, we have the Mental Health Rehab Center, which was opened on December 2016, has 16 clients in there. And then on the public health, they are really working hard in trying to get those kids to have immunization program participation. So they have been going around to audit the schools. And so for this fiscal year, they have 5 more than last year. And one big thing also is on the 100% of the CCS, the children with the illnesses. And then we have clients established, giving them a medical home. And for Human Services Agency, we have the HMIS, which is for the homeless. It's a database to where they're able to get the information and share it with the other agency as well, and trying to follow up where the homeless are now in terms of the performance on handling them. And one thing is the IHSS team. They have exceeded the target rate of 99% for timely assessment rate. The standard in the state is only 80%. And so we're now being used as an example for best practices in the whole state. Along with that, we have the foster family recruitment. We have 306 licensed foster homes, and we have additional 144 families in application and submission right now. For non-general fund, we have the airport services. They have maintained the noise compatibility program, which has decreased by 50% for the noise aviation compliance. So that we have about 50% means that last year we have 30 complaints. Now it's dropped to 16, around 16. So that's very low for a county of our size. Then we have the CEO's help through Sean Otten's group, where they were able to provide a choice for a more reasonable plan that's going to cost our employees their premium lower, up to about 37% in some areas. Now, on the CEO's risk management, the general liability, it's the rates, the premium collected has been on 7th year in a row to where it has not have increased. And also, it has provided some credits to the departments for the last 2 years because of the level of their reserves. On the child support services, they have, through the use of electronic processing, now they have collected $57.3 million on the federal fiscal year of 15-16, or an increase of $1.6 million. They remain to be the top performing large county in the state, just ranked as 6th overall. And now they're servicing 16 other counties on the call system, wherein they get about 36,000 calls, and their wait time is about 68 seconds, they say. Mm-hmm. So the Fire Protection District, we have a dispatch response time. The goal is 2 minutes upon phone pickup, and then the benchmark is 90. They exceeded that benchmark. Now it's 99%. And also one of the items there that were done was the public safety dispatchers, which has changed the schedule from a 24-hour schedule and a 12-hour schedule. It's better for the choices for the scheduling. It also gives some cost savings.
Yeah, question?
Okay.
I do have a question.
General Services
so-
Agency.
I just do have a quick question on the 24-hour staffing, if you could go back one to the
Dispatch.
to the 12-hour schedule. Did that change the number of public safety dispatchers?
That should have been, I think they have increased it because of the schedules of the 24 hours. So fire department, right there. Yeah.
Sure.
Repeat the question.
I'm sorry I didn't get this asked when you were up,
Sure.
you know, in the original thing, but did it change the number of dispatchers when we went for
Did it change the
20?
number?
Yes.
It increased it slightly.
Slightly, thank
So,
you.
Yes.
Thank you, Chief.
Very concise.
We have the General Services Agency to where they have instituted this automated invoice processing. It saves time, that it allows the invoices to be actually be seen optically through the system instead of them scanning it. And then we have the information technology. It's the county receiving this OES mobile application, be informed, make a plan, and get involved. We're now the retrotrack for Apple. They're going to look at the county in the future. Migration and implementation support for the payroll people tools upgrade on Visera also as integration. And one thing good about that is most of the time when you do implementations, there's a downtime, and they are 99% on the go. Library, we have the circulation of the library materials, 764,000, which is exceeding it by 5% this fiscal year. And then for the county healthcare plan, we have decreased the number of access to care related complaints by 52%. So then now it started at 90 per quarter and dropped to 46, and then now it's about 20 per quarter, so it's roughly 6 a month. And also they have successfully negotiated contracts saving employees as well, $3 million in the premium that we have to pay. Now Ventura County Medical Center, we have the telemedicine project. It's a convenience for the patients to be able to not travel, and then they could be seen at the local location and to the providers. And we have that in all of our clinics. The whole person pilot program, we have a $10 million award. It's again expanding because of the results that's been produced. 18 participating counties were awarded. And then on the cost saving side, especially in pharmaceuticals, there's a $10 million estimate from the different programs. And the VCMC hospital wing completed, and it came in at under budget. We have the Watershed Protection District. We have they've secured a $3 million in pre-disaster mitigation grant program from FEMA. Every year they're able to successfully get this grant. Challenges.
Just to
Councilor.
pause for just a second and just let you catch your breath, actually, have a drink of water. So it's a lot of ground to cover, to be sure, but these are performance measures and things your board has identified as priorities, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to touch on them and also give just a sort of the public a snapshot of the broad scope of services that a county provides. And also not in here is something we'll show you a little bit later, is the city services that we provide, particularly in safety. As that your county provides police services for, I believe, 5 of the 10 cities, as well as fire for, I believe, 7 of the 10 cities. So when your board is considering and adopting your budget today, you're really also looking at safety services for, the majority of the county. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And negotiations for those cities, too.
That's right.
And here comes detailing some of the challenges that we have, continues. HSA, we have the in-home support services due to the cost shift of the MOE. We have the CalWorks and CalFresh reductions. Mental Health Services Act funds, the realignment, our increases are being held steady, and it's being converted and transferred into IHSS. We have also the payment delays from state and federal funding poses some challenges in our cash projections, but it's still accuracy of such is almost there. And then the federal as well, we have some legislative changes that are coming forth, which is the healthcare reform as well as the tax reform. And the AB 1250, Mike can talk more about that one.
Mike?
The limit of contracting for services.
Michael?
Thank you. Well, as your board knows, this is the proposed bill that would severely limit your county's ability to contract for services, including existing contracts, and big impacts of that would really fall particularly in the healthcare area. A big part of your system is built on public-private partnerships, which would be much more challenging under that bill. So we continue to advocate in Sacramento to try to oppose that
Michael,
bill.
would that affect our clinics? How many clinics do we have?
Well, we have a total of about 35, 40 primary care and specialty clinics. But those primary care health centers, those large health centers that are located geographically throughout the county, that provide about over 450,000 visits a year, those are the public-private partnerships. We're talking about all of our physicians, our contractors, our jail, the health care is provided under a contract, a lot of our IT services, some of our legal services, so it would have a really significant effect on your county. Thank you.
The Behavioral Health Department, too, does a lot of contracting.
Absolutely. Hundreds of contracts for mental health services with the community, right?
And then we have also the greater dependence on sales tax, especially in the Prop 172 and then the safety realignment areas. We have positives as well as challenges. We have the stable property tax. It's grown from last year, as you know, as the secured has we're projected at 4.5% for this budget year. It's growing from the last fiscal years. And then we have aggressive pursuit of grants. We have about 168 of them out there. The new VCMC hospital, again, is completed under budget. And fiscal diligence, you can't emphasize that enough, with the diligence from our department leaders. And the revenue cost and cash flow, and our projection in itself on our pension. It allows lowered assumption rates. So when we do our projections, it's it gives us some cushion to make sure that the pensions are not ultimately showing good returns, and performance outcome driven, which we have actually given you those examples. And new funding for this fiscal year, we have the whole person care of an additional $10 million, and then there's going to be more that's going to be presented tomorrow to your board. And then we have the SB1, the road repair, that's a new source as well, $3.7 million for 16-17, and it's going to grow to $11 million on the following fiscal year. And we have, always when we do our infrastructure, we have to make sure the investments have good returns. The credit worthiness, we stay maintain those AAA ratings. And then the department collaborations is very important. In summary, our collaborative efforts, the diligent management. As an example, we have the SEC. From the Lean 6 programs, that's $3.9 million. And of course, your board direction and support has always been instrumental in trying to make sure that we run this fiscal system intact. The department heads and the fiscal leadership team now has resulted in a balanced budget, maintaining the services and all those from the expanded service levels as well in safety, health, and social. And the bottom line is that we are delivering a responsive public delivery system. And here is the next section to where you can have the roll call.
Sorry, Peter, go ahead. Sorry.
Catherine, I'm not going to ask any questions. I'll ask. I know you have the departments possibly coming up and some things being done. I just wanted to say I know you've gone through this in a good 45 minutes and a lot of information, a lot of great stuff that came out and some really good stuff. I got to commend Chris, like out there, 99%, rates of, for inspections and all the other great things. But I do want to commend your team and all the people in the county. This is a lot of work to put this together, and all the people that had it, not just from your staff, but down into all the departments and all the people. And you think about it, we listen to this and spend a couple hours going through and all the different things we do, but you guys are spending thousands of hours putting this together. I just don't want that to go unnoticed. I know last time we were here and you made your presentation, we ended up getting into bike paths, and we just, we missed out on just saying thank you for all the hard work and all the people who do this work. And it's a lot of stuff to put together a multi-billion-dollar budget with all the different facets and asking all the teams to come together to do this. So I just hats off to all of you and all your team members and all throughout the county had to be part of it. So I just didn't want it to go unnoticed. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. I too would like to, I know we have the department heads and agencies to make their presentations, but I have in the past, I used to develop my own budgets before the computers, and I know how difficult it is when you have a big old binder like this, with a multitude of hours and time. It's just excellent. I just want to commend everybody for the good work they've done, all the agencies.
I would just want to put you in a sweatshop like this.
Right.
Michael?
Well, thank you, supervisors. Appreciate those comments. So you see on the board there all the departments listed, and Supervisor, you're going to walk through and see if they
Yes.
have. But as you know, many of them have already presented to your board. What we've tried to do is not sort of jam it all into one final day. It's just too much. It's too big. And so that's why they've been doing presentations over the last couple of months, and the departments have been working, the fiscal leadership team from all the departments with our fiscal team here over the last 6 months, really putting all of this together. So even though you might not see a lot of presentations here, that's because a lot of the work has been done up front.
That's right. Okay, our next item in the agenda is we are going to go through the different departments. And if you want to make a presentation, fine. If you don't, you can say thank you, I did my job. But we'll start off with the government. We started with the assessor's office and see if. Thank you. You did. Auditor controller. Thank you.
I'm here, but if you have questions, otherwise.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
I like how we're giving them options. This is going to go really quick then, I guess.
Well,
I just want to find out if that assessor's guaranteeing us this return on this property tax. Is that right?
what is it, 3%?
It's a guarantee, right? Okay.
Yeah, he says.
Oh, yeah, that's a big.
Okay, Jeff is auditor controller. You're good? The Board of Supervisors, they don't want to say anything, we'll pass after a while. The county clerk and recorder, all good. County council,
Nothing unless the board has questions.
Did we add somebody to your office?
Are you adding someone?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're adding one position primarily.
How did he get so lucky?
Yeah. And a little bit of the funding, but not totally.
the CO's office, I know they continue to do good work. Any additional comments, from?
We're good, Supervisor. Thank you.
Okay, treasurer, tax collector? No, okay. Environmental balance would be ag commissioner. Where's the ag commissioner? I don't see him. Public works, Jeff. Good man. Resource management agency. We're doing good. AAA, area agency, where's doing good. HCA. Okay. HSA. Animal services.
Nothing further, but we're here for questions.
Well, how many dogs? Just kidding. 100. District attorney.
We have nothing to add.
Nothing. Probation, Mark. Good. Public Defender's Office. Well, I think he retired already. Sheriff's Office. Sheriff, where's the boss? Yep. I guess he's okay. Child Support Services. We're good. Ventura County Libraries. Good. Airports, Todd. Rubio's here. Okay. Harbor, Lynn. Okay. GSA, David. Thank you. Information technology. Everybody's getting a new computer, is that it? Fire Protection District. Okay, did I miss anybody?
Watershed protection.
Watershed?
Nothing to add?
It's all public works, right? Okay, so my next item is opening remarks by board members, but I do have some speakers. Does any board member want to share anything at this time? Supervisor
I just
Parks?
wanted to say that we have had many presentations from our directors already, and just really how much this is a culmination of so much work. And I know Catherine's been very much the centerpiece of all that, but I do appreciate all the department heads and trying to work your budgets to the best we can, even if you may not get the sufficient funds. So we know that the work is going to go forward to the best of our ability, and I just thank you all for your work on that. I know we have some major projects coming forward in the next year. Just looking at the fire district alone in my district, many fire. I think we have about three different stations that we're looking at replacing there. So there's a lot of work going on, and this budget really explains a lot of that. And I just want to give my thanks. And it is true that we have been steadily increasing our reserves. And when I first came to the county, they were spending more money than they had. And so we have changed that so that we can put money aside, as the chair was saying, for a rainy day, for emergencies. But I think it's also important to realize that these are one-time funds, that we can't put them to ongoing programs. Is that right?
Yes.
So I think that's something really to understand. Those reserves help us, for example, for capital projects, one-time only funds. But it is really important to have those. You never know. We say for a rainy day, you think about sometimes we have some massive flooding and all of a sudden we're out there with the road crews and all that and having to use up some of those emergency funds. But it is really important that we have that. It helps our bond rating, helps us to borrow money when we need to. But I think overall, it's good to have those reserves. Just really want to make it clear that they are for only one-time use. We can't use it, or we'd end up in the same situation we were back in 2000, I guess 1 and 2, where they were using the monies and they didn't have them because you can't have them for ongoing. They run out that way. So it's good to have those. And I just also want to, again, thank staff and all the good work to bring us to this point, and Mr. Powers, too. We have a new process, relatively new, where we have our strategic plan. We know what we want to do and what our mission is for each of the separate departments, and they've worked on that. So we have good performance measures that we can look at, too. So I'm just very pleased with the budget. I think we're in a really good situation, too, particularly when you compare to some of the other counties that are laying off many people. I think we've been fiscally prudent, and as a result of that, we are able to hold on to the staffing. We're losing a few in both the general fund and non-general fund, but overall, to be able to continue the good services that we provide, I think that is something that we can all be proud of. Thank you.
Supervisor Bennett?
Just give a quick question for the fire chief, if I could.
Where's the fire chief again?
I see the slide up here about where we provide fire services, and my understanding there was a special meeting of Santa Paula City Council. Do you know what
That's correct. On Saturday, the city council met. Really, it was a budget discussion for them. And they were looking at their budget to determine what the picture would look like with and without moving over to basically fire district annexation. So, and I know they approved moving forward 4-1 at their Saturday meeting. They have another meeting tonight at 6:30 in which they're tentatively going to look at the tax exchange agreement and vote on that also.
Great. So most likely it's going to happen.
Pending is definitely accurate there.
Great.
We'll see. It's been pending for the last 6 months, it seems like, but
All right.
perhaps
Great.
someday it won't be pending.
Good.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, I know we have a number of speakers, so I think I'll hold my comments until after we hear from the speakers. Thank you.
And Michael, wait? You want to wait? You want to wait?
But this is the slide I was referring to before, and it's something that, I think we know, but I think a lot of people in the public don't really stop to think about, oh, that's the county, that's different than the city. Well, look at all the safety services that the county provides for the city and all the support services that go along with that. So this is one of the reasons why the budget is so significant. So just for perspective.
And I did make that comment that
Yeah.
as a result of that, those cities don't have to negotiate, they don't have to go through union negotiations with their fire departments or with their police services. The county is engaging in that, and it's a significant savings for those counties in terms of, those cities in terms of time, energy,
And the fire and police provide excellent service for those communities.
All right, I will mention this. Okay, so Santa Paula, I think it's wonderful that everyone is doing their due diligence. I'd like to thank Mark, Chief Lorenzo, for the time that he's taken to make sure the public hearings and so forth. Also, the city council for ensuring that they're doing their due diligence in their financials. Just because an idea sounds good, to make sure that it is the right process and the right function for the city is important. So I know that they're doing their due diligence and we'll be moving together. So.
Thank you. Okay, I have some speakers that'd like to speak. Then the first one is Julie Stearns, followed by Lourdes Guzman Ratana. Julie. Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Julie Stearns. I have been a home care worker since 2004. I care for my daughter, who is
I'm
31
sorry.
years old.
Oh, Julie, I'm sorry, 3 minutes, okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is
And 3
31
minutes for the rest.
One
Thank you.
years old. She has cerebral palsy. She only says a few words, and she uses a wheelchair about 95% of the time. She uses a walker a little bit, but I do everything for her. I make her 3 meals a day. I brush her teeth. I change her, help her to the bathroom, help her get in and out of bed, roll her over at nighttime. I care for my mom also since 2010. She's 80 years old. She has diabetes too, and she's disabled and have arthritis. She falls down a lot because her knee goes out on her. I cook for her 3 times a day also. I help her shower and a little bit with her clothing. I take them both to all their doctor's appointments. Lately, rent, utilities, and food are going up. My mom and daughter are only on a fixed income. And the money that I get, I have to pay for their dentists and the eyeglasses, which Medi-Cal doesn't pay for it all the time. I work 7 days a week, 8.5 hours that I get paid for, but I work more hours than that. Did you know that a personal care aide are the top 10 jobs of the county that makes $27.91 an hour, which we are not even close to that? 3 years ago, I was on the negotiation team here, and you guys said that we would never be below the living wage in Ventura County. Right now, I'm paying $317 for my Coverage California, which I have a deductible of $6,500. And my doctor's visits are $65 to $45 a month. Everything's going up except our paychecks. Thank you very much for listening to me. Please take it seriously what I'm talking about. Our lives of the people that we care for and ourselves, home care workers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Lourdes Guzman Ratana, followed by Kimberly Fallon. Lourdes Guzman, okay. Okay. Is she here? Okay. So Kimberly is going to be following Lourdes. Brian, do we have a speaker right there now?
Hi, my name is Lourdes Guzman.
Get closer.
Okay, thank you. Yes, my name is Lourdes Guzman. I'm a provider. I take care of my mom, and she's blind for one eye, and I take care of. She depends upon me, and because she has diarrhea every day, and I take a shower, and it's too heavy. The bed is kind of high, and sometimes my back hurts. It's too heavy. But she has she depends upon me because I take care of her. It's kind of hard for her, for a lot of work with her. But she depends upon me a lot. But she's blind, and I take her a shower and everything. You could give me more raise. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Kimberly Bellin, followed by Kathleen Peterson.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I want to just say that I'm Kim, and I am live
Kim,
in Thousand Oaks.
put the mic closer to you. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Kim Ballin, and I live in Thousand Oaks. And I wrote a letter to the Ventura County Star, and I know it was posted and sent to you as well. But I wanted to put a face to my letter so you can see who I am. And people will not know that I live on $18,000 a year because I don't advertise it. But I wanted to say also that we are much more than caregivers. With my last client, she passed away June 1st, stage 4 cancer patient, but I was her secondary on her advance directive and secondary on her 5 wishes. So we're more than just caregivers. We form relationships with our patients, our clients, and their families. And I want to thank you so much for not cutting our wages, because I do not have cable, so I do not know what else I would have gotten rid of. So thank you so much for not cutting them. And I would just ask you to please consider investing in us further, because the work we do is very hard work, but it's also very important to the families we are with and to our community, because it just is. But thank you so much, and it's more about a quality of life issue than anything else for all of us as caregivers, and also for our clients. And I know I sound nervous. This is my first time ever speaking, so thank you so much for letting me come up and speak.
You're doing okay.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Kathleen Peterson.
I'm nervous, I'm sorry. My name is Kathy Peterson. I'm a care provider for my daughter, Joni Payne, and I watch her during the weekends. I'm lucky during the week she has a caregiver place, actually, she spends her days. I have her on the weekend. IHSS helps supplement my Social Security. I just retired. I really don't know what I would do without it. I appreciate you not taking away any of the wages. It'd be nice to have a raise, but we're getting by. I think that's all I had to say. I'm sorry.
You did good. Thank you. And that's my last speaker. I just want to thank all the folks that are here today for the IHSS. You guys are really, we admire you for the work that you do, and thank you for being here today. Thank you again. We appreciate that very much. Thank you.
And I would also like to echo thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for partnering with us on advocating at the state to minimize those state reductions. For us, it was your advocacy was very effective and helpful. So thank you.
And just also, if I
Supervisor.
I just want to say it is so important what you do, because if there wasn't you, where would your loved ones be? The people you take care of, would they have to be institutionalized? How expensive is that? And you just realize the best thing you can do is be able to help them at the home, and if they can, stay at the home. So I know, and I think the whole board knows how important it is of the service that you provide, and just want to say thank you.
Okay, board members, any additional comments? If not, Supervisor Bennett, and then Foy. Bennett.
Okay. Yeah, I two things. First, to all the people that are here, most of the people in IHSS are relative caregivers, and it's a special bond that you have, and it's a special gift that you're giving to your family, but also to the community that's out there. And it's unfortunate that the county is only a small part of the money that is paid to you. It's the federal government and the state government, and then the county at a small percentage. And personally, I think I really object to the fact that we say that relative caregivers that are also low are giving care to low-income people, not to people that can afford to pay, but people that can't afford to pay. The relative caregivers need to be subjected to wages that keep them living in poverty. That's a national crisis that we have here in this country. It's not one the county can solve by itself, but it is really heartwarming to have you come here and remind us, for the small part that we play, of how important of a role that you have. So thank you for what you're doing for your families, but also thank you for what you're doing for all the rest of us by letting us live in a more civilized place here in Ventura County because of your efforts. And it is unfortunate that that's a value judgment that's been made at a national level in terms of relative caregivers. With regard to the budget, I really want to compliment the mission in Ventura County. We talk about the mission oftentimes, but the mission falls apart if it doesn't have the foundation of fiscal responsibility. And uniquely in Ventura County, it feels like people really get that and get that we have to have both. And it wasn't always the case here in Ventura County, but for each one of you professionals that helps us do both, and that is live the mission and give it the fiscal responsibility that it needs so that we can do it year in and year out and make those critical decisions. I just want to say thank you at budget time. It's been hard work, and I know in particular Catherine and your team have worked really hard, and Mike has had to throw some very interesting energy at different times in as various budget challenges came up and stuff. So to Mike, Matt, the CEO's office, Catherine and your team, and then all the department heads and all of your fiscal analysts, our auditor, thank you very much.
I have an additional speaker, but before I bring him up, I just also like to thank all our agency directors and all our constituency, because I every time that I hear and talk to somebody, we talk about, or mentioned earlier about a AAA rating, our FICO score, if you want to relate it to you personally, how important it is that a county with a $2.2 billion budget has such a great credit rating. And we borrow money accordingly, and we save millions of dollars as a result of that. So I just want to thank all the agency directors, all the employees, for doing your part. And I think it's important. It's like being at home, when somebody asks you money for a car, or somebody asks you money to go out to the movies and so forth, sometimes you have to tighten that belt and says, no, we can't do it. And thus, because we put X amount of dollars in the bank for that rainy day. So I just want to commend all of you for the good work that you're doing, from the people that are here today, to the police and fire and public works. And I won't mention everybody, all the agencies, you're doing an excellent job, for us. And I thank you for that. I have one more speaker before we continue, and this is Lisa Cordova Schwartz.
Hi. So I've been working for IHSS as a provider. My daughter became very ill, and I left a living wage job as a marketing coordinator to care for her. She died last January. I've had 4 clients since, and I just want to tell you about 2 of them. One of them is isolated. She lives 25.2 miles from me, so every day that I go to work, for $47.92, it costs me $14.61 to drive my car. I'm good. I earned $107.50. It cost me to drive to work and to take her from her rural place into Oxnard, to get her medication, see her doctors, all kinds of things. It cost me $533.70. I earned $273.80 in 5 weeks. I didn't realize being an IHSS provider required me to subsidize my client's living. And that's what I had to leave her, because this is not sustainable. And I have options. I'll be back in a hospital in January. I'm an LVN. I'll be working. But I just don't know how you can find people to do this kind of work. For 2 of my clients are very, very sick. Very sick. One man, I don't even know why he's at home. He should be in assisted living. And God bless the gal who takes care of him 6 days a week. because I certainly wouldn't do it. It's 6 hours of continuous work, 2 meals, cleaning, emptying urinals 8 to 10 times in a 6-hour period. I'm happy to have that work because I'm doing work hardening. I'm going to go back to work, but I just can't imagine how you can keep people caring for these people that are not family members. So, thank you.
Thank you for sharing. My condolences too for your relatives. Supervisor Foy.
Yeah, just real quick. Mike, I appreciate you putting that slide up in regards to all the different things that public safety does for so many of the cities. You realize, but I guess when you look at that, you realize how even that's limiting. I mean, I'm looking at, we have probation out here that does it for the county, which really does it for all the cities. We've got animal service out here that does for most of the cities, right? We have so many other things that this county does, and I don't think a lot of the people that are here from the county understand that. But I think a lot of people don't understand all the things that we do here. And Linda and I had a comment about that earlier today when I saw her. And it's just amazing. And but, you know, it makes it kind of a special place when we can do all these kind of things for each other and the benefit of the county working well together with the cities. And I thought that was, it's great that we have those great relationships. And, you know, and Steve even said, you know, some of the things we don't even charge for, some of the negotiation, some of the work, all the other things we do. And you know, that may not be the future, but it is as of now. We've tried to do, and I know Tara went through it with cities having to pay more in animal services that they had to do in that department and trying to balance all the things we do. So it's just great to be part of what this county is and all the great things that it's doing. And so as we go forward tonight, we're going to vote on a tremendous budget that I think Linda said earlier that we're not in a county where you go to some of these other counties in the east that are laying off hundreds and hundreds of people. A county right next to us laying off, you know, 150, 180 people. We've done a good job, and I got to appreciate you, Mike, under your leadership with all your people here, that you've really tried to plan in advance, and I appreciate this board trying to be as conservative as possible. Because it's always easy to run out and say, I want to do, but trying to hold back a little bit and not do that. Because forget the service even to the people, but just the employees, that you disrupt their lives when you have to lay a bunch of people off and do that where you go up and down. And I do agree with you in the other side of that. There's a bill out there not to outsource, and some of that outsourcing allows us to do so much more because a lot of people can do things a lot less expensive than we can do it. And in areas where we, you know, ebb and flow in a lot of those departments where we'd end up laying people off, hiring people. It's just crazy. So that's, I know that there's some push for some people to do that, but especially in our health care. How many more people would not get the kind of quality care in this county because of that kind of thing? I think that's important. So I do have to say that it's good. I personally, though, would like to bring up a couple things because I do want to support a tremendous budget. A lot of great things are going here. But there's a couple pieces, hopefully we may be able to, Catherine or something, we bring this up tonight, we budget, that we can probably break out a couple pieces in here. And as we do in some things, vote separately on a couple things. I'd like to bring out, we have the Boys and Girls Clubs. It's something that we give $500,000 a year to for a select group, and it hasn't been part of my desire to support that. Not that I don't support the Boys and Girls Clubs, it's just more of something I think the nonprofits have. But one of my biggest concerns was we had said originally about that we were going to have reports coming back to the board. What are they doing? What are they doing? Not relying on us. And we haven't seen that in the last couple of years, so I think that we should look at that. And then the other thing I'd like to look at, too, would be the opportunity possibly to vote separately. I'm not really sure about this because we kind of asked it to be part of the budget. Not part of the budget was this farm worker resource program, $200,000. And I don't know if we really pegged the number. We threw a number out there. And I'd like to look at that separately if we have that opportunity to oh, here you go. Okay, you did bring it up. So okay, so good. Yeah, so these are the kind of things that where some of our contributions are going. So anyway, if that's a possibility, how you would do that, or Mike, how you could do that in your budget, I don't know. But if we could look at some of that, that'd be great.
Could I comment on that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
This is the budget that is based on votes that we've had in the past. And frankly, I've lost a few of those votes, but it's still in the budget because that is what the Board of Supervisors approved. Think about like the biofilter in Oak Park. Still hoping we'll find something else, out there. But I acknowledge the fact that that is part of the budget. So I'm not pulling out each item separately. So I just point that out to you that was approved by the Board of Supervisors. So I agree with you. It's important to get that report back and see that where our funds are going for. I think about, we've just recently with the Resource Conservation District asking them, give us a report back. Where's that, $38,000 or what a year that we're giving. So I just give you my perspective.
Well, no,
on
and at the end of the day, you're right. But if we're going to ask them to do certain things, let's have them do it.
Exactly.
Because, when you think about $500,000 a year, that's a lot of money going in there. And again, you've got Boys and Girls Clubs in your district, I've got them, other people got them. They're not getting those same kind of money. At the end of the day, we still should be doing, because what happens is a lot of people get lazy and they do that. So, if we don't, I can go along with where you want to go. If we can at least get a report back and then do that, then I'm fine. I think it's important that if we're going to take taxpayer dollars, we're going to do it to these nonprofits, that we're going to say, we expect something from it, just not throwing money out there. And I think it's important that we would get that. So I can go along with what you're asking for on that, Linda. I have no problem with that.
Supervisor Bennett and then Long.
Thank you. I completely support what you're saying about getting the reports back. In fact, I went back and looked at our motion, and our motion back on May 5th, 2015, when we did this, it says it instructs the CEO's office to establish appropriate reporting guidelines for the clubs to ensure board's intentions regarding funding are being carried out. I don't know where we are with that, but it was kind of a direction, both to the CEO's office and to the clubs to do that. And so what I think would be appropriate is for us to make sure we have that before we do the budget next year. To try to say we were going to do something negative to them now when they're not even here to sort of defend themselves. I also want to respect the fact that you've consistently voted no, and so whatever way you find as the appropriate way, but you've been the one person that's voted against this, and so to whatever extent you want to call that out, that you're not supportive of that, I think that's appropriate. I do want to point out two clarifications. You mentioned, we have Boys and Girls Clubs lots of places. These are the only 3 Boys and Girls Clubs that are in the unincorporated area of Ventura County, which was one of the justifications for it. And they're in unincorporated parts of Ventura County that don't have the normal business component to support them that you would find. So the city of Ventura has businesses in the city of Ventura that support their Boys and Girls Clubs. But Nyland Acres, Satakoy, and Piru are low-income areas, don't have any substantial business. There is no real viable way that those communities are going to raise the funds to make it work, was the justification. I'm not trying to talk you into it. I'm just trying to make sure we remind ourselves of the distinction between these 3 versus all the other Boys and Girls Clubs that are in cities that are supported. And I think the cities have, to whatever extent they have responsibilities, they would do it. The other question is about the $200,000. The motion that we made was up to $200,000. So I think it's appropriate that they budget $200,000, but that does not mean that we are committing yet to spending $200,000. It's to budget up to $200,000 so that when they come back by January 30th with what the specifics are that they are recommending the work be done, we have that funding in there. So if that helps, just clarifications. Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I do remember the understanding on this piece. But at the end of the day, I do want to, because remember, a lot of these were already going before we even put money in. These Boys and Girls stuff were going. I think you were trying to help a few. But again, I can pass on that right now. It's been something. But I just would like to see that report, and I'd hope to have it long before we come to next year's budget, because if there is something that comes up in the next few months, we can talk about this doesn't really meet criteria, or you need to get something up before we go down, because again, we don't want to just, not that doing anything for kids is not positive. But, we want to see support. We want to see them, what are you doing? Are you raising more money you did before because counties and we can have a better, now people are getting behind it, whatever that is, serving more kids.
Supervisor Argos, if I could just, real quick, just to follow up here with that, and that is, I'm fine, it doesn't have to be next year. I mean, they should be able to do this promptly on both sides. The CEO's office established the guidelines. But I can't speak for the Nyland Acres Club, but I can speak for Piru and Satakoy, that they were saying they did not think that they could maintain those clubs and they were going to shut them down. So the Santa Clara Valley Boys and Girls Club had communicated to Supervisor Long, and they had communicated to me they were not able. There are 5 clubs that are being supported by the Ventura Club, 2 of them in unincorporated areas, and they just said we can't maintain all those. So there was a threat that these were going to be closed down. That helps.
So long before I go to, I'd like to share too that the Nyland Acres Community Center has really done fantastic work. The Boys and Girls Club of Oxnard and Wainimi have really brought up to a point where we reduce crime there. One of the things that I'd like to remind everybody that what was his name? The professor over the Demui out of the Cal Lutheran study said, that for every dollar that we invest there, we save $17 in crime reduction and helping the community there. And those people are really need that money. Even though we had a CFD, now the people that stepped up to do the operation and maintenance, but we need to support the Boys and Girls Club to continue those after-school programs. And in fact, we have First Five is there too, with 0 to 3. And they're saving a tremendous amount of dollars for the community. But I think that those dollars are well worth it. When we're talking about a $2.2 billion, $150,000 is minimal dollars to support our children in Nyland Acres. So I think it's important. And I think that we should invite the Boys and Girls Club to give us an update and give us all the information that the good things that Satakoy and Piru and Nyland Acres are doing. And as the supervisor mentioned, yes, the city of Oxnard, the city of Ventura, those cities support their Boys and Girls Club to the max. So I think that is extremely important. The $200,000, I think, for the farm workers program, I think is a program that's going to save us a tremendous amount of money at this time. Mike? I'm sorry, Supervisor.
Thank you. I just want to clarify something real quick. So in that board action, your board directed that the reports come to the CEO's office, and so that's a summary of the report that we have. They come in July, so it hasn't really been part of the budget process. So just to be clear, that the clubs have been reporting their information, and so, but what your board is talking about is including it earlier and as part of the budget process.
Okay. Supervisor Long?
Okay. Thank you. I've been waiting my turn here very patiently.
Remember,
and I'm not as patient as you think I would be. So first of all, I just wanted to thank everyone very much for doing this. Since reading the mission, the value, and the guiding principles, since September 13, 2011, we've been working on this, is what it says. And we're identifying the programs and services to attain desired outcomes and set objectives and measured outcomes is really important to this county, and I think that's why many of our constituents live here, is because of the services that our county provides along with our cities. So I want to thank all of you that are participating in that to make sure it happens. As we talk about youth programs and services, I think we should be looking at it in that way. It's not one program that's working, it's what are we providing to our youth for the unincorporated areas. And as we do in many of our departments, looking at the rate of return is really important. Looking at how we're keeping those youth off the street and into an area that is accountable and that they are being good mentors and so forth, I think is very valuable. So I don't want to put that onto a dollar figure, but I also like to look at the rate of return of the success rates. And I think that's something that we should all be looking at, if it's the Boys and Girls Club or someone else in our unincorporated areas for the youth. I think that's important. It also helps with parole and so forth. So looking at that dynamic, I just want to make sure we don't lose focus on that. But thank you to everyone who's answered my questions long before we got here, doing all the hard work and making sure we answer all the questions is extremely important so that it makes today so much easier. So I appreciate the efforts that everyone's put on this. I like it because it holds you accountable, and it's important to make sure that we are looking out for our constituents' money and making sure that we're spending that wisely, and how transparent we can be as a government is extremely important, and not doing duplication. So I appreciate that when I look through this at midnight or whenever we're looking through budgets, as we all do. I just wanted to appreciate, because we are looking, we are watching, and thank you very much.
Well, before we end the proceedings, Michael, do you like to, before end the proceedings for this evening?
I do. Thank you, Chair Zaragoza, board members, and really appreciate those comments about the great work of our team out here. It is an exceptional team. And just a couple of overview pieces. So in some ways it could look not very exciting, because it's sort of, stabilizing and so forth, but I think it is when you do look at other counties, as you can see. State mandates. We get a lot of state mandates, AB 109, safety realignment. That's a huge shift in services. And it's, truth be told, we get funding, but it's not enough. It doesn't cover it. But, we're not victims here. The justice partners and our health systems and social, they rally around, they figure, how are we going to do this? How are we going to provide services in a way that where we get great outcomes, and we don't have to reduce them. And so you can see in other counties that they're feeling that now. And so this is sort of a culmination of several years' work by all the great people out here, listening to your board's priorities of safety, social, and health services, and minimizing state cuts. Now, HSA had a big cut in CalFresh and CalWorks, but they jumped on it early. They did a freeze right away, looked at contracts. And I think that's why it minimized layoffs, but as importantly, it also minimize the impact of services here in the community. And I think that was very strong work. And also, the reserve policy is really important, but if we didn't have good fund balance at the end of every year, we wouldn't go through this process of allocating it. So it's really a good situation to be in year after year with these department managers and their fiscal leadership team, putting us in a position where we can make these choices. And we can invest in ongoing maintenance and not put all that off just to balance the budget. We can invest in facilities and IT, which is, it's not an accident that your county, all these good people out here in your board, is the number 8 digital county in the nation. And that's, we like to, I think that's important. And I think that comes from investment and our great people. So again, I just appreciate your board support for all of this and all the great work of our department leaders out here. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. What I'd like to share, Supervisor Bennett.
Just one quick thing. 16 years ago, when we invested in technology, our people would emphasize, don't think this is going to lower the cost of county services. They just, we thought, they said, but nowadays, I think that's really different. Now we actually are having investments in IT actually decreasing the cost of county services. And that's probably the normal evolution. At first you couldn't translate it, and now you can. And so my compliments to everybody for making that happen, Mike. All right.
Thank you. So I'd like to share that the review, the sequence of timing for the events as follows. We're going to take testimony, the public hearing tonight at 6 p.m. After the end of the public testimony, we're going to deliberate, possibly take a straw vote if necessary for the general fund budget units and for the non-general fund budget units. Hopefully at that time, adopt the detailed deliberation, adjustments, exhibits, and resolutions, if any, and then we'll hopefully adopt a budget by that time. So at this time, we're going to, anything else, Catherine, before we?
No.
So we're going to then end this afternoon proceedings, and we'll return for the public hearing at 6 p.m. Thank you so much for Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue our special budget hearing for the Board of Supervisors for January 19, 2017. And this is the 6 p.m. edition. This is to receive public testimony and the continued public hearing regarding adoption of fiscal year 2017-18 budget for the County of Ventura, the General Fund, for the County of Ventura Fire Protection District, for the County Watershed Protection District, for the Ventura County Waterworks District, the county serves service areas, and all other non-general fund county funds. And I'm going to open the public testimony, and it'll be allowed anytime. During this time, we can receive any speakers until the public hearing is closed. So we'll start off with Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza. Board members, well, we'll get right to it. Do some summary slides here. We recognize you've seen most of these, not all of them, most of these, so we'll just do a quick highlights of them, and the clicker is our friend.
Thank you. Good evening, Supervisor Zaragoza, Chair of the Board, and members of the Board, and CEO Powers. For the record, my name is Catherine Rodriguez, the County CFO. There's 4 seconds dropping right there. So now we're at the final budget hearing, so moving on. General fund departments, this is just to show us the illustration for how the fund departments are categorized according to funds. So we have the general fund departments, all of those that are highlighted in yellow, and there's non-general fund departments. So we have the general government, those are the departments within it, environmental balance, and those are the departments, and then health and human services, administration of justice, other general funds, and then there's the other general, non-general fund departments.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I wanted to see, or have the public see, how many things that our general fund for the County of Ventura pays for, at least in part. And so when we look at what the county does, obviously we do a lot of stuff in the unincorporated area, but when you realize we're also helping to fund our assessor, our auditor controller, county clerk recorder, elections we're paying for, the county council, obviously, as well as treasurer tax collector, our ag commissioner, animal services, all these things that our county is funding. And particularly also you look at the administration of justice, district attorney, probation agency, as was mentioned earlier, public defender, sheriff. They provide services for the entire county and the residents in the cities too. So you just realize that what we do up here really makes a big difference, not only to the unincorporated area which we oversee, but also to, in general, to the residents in the cities too. And that's pretty remarkable.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So this is just actually trying to align the strategic plan with the budget. So first area is in the public safety. They get 60% of general purpose revenue. You've seen this slides already. Highlight the positions that were added to district attorney, for victim advocates, and the public defender, where they got 2 additional investigators. Next, so again, you've seen these slides. On the community well-being, look at 13% general purpose revenue is allocated to the health and human services. The area agency on aging, 150,000 to them, and take note that the increasing number of aging population also would require increase in case management in the future.
And with the same thing, the Human Services Agency, which is the largest agency in the county, right?
That's correct.
And they provide the most services, essentially, probably touch more people than any other agency in terms of providing services to residents.
Then we have the, continued on the community well-being. We have the hospital replacement wing in there and the medical examiner. It's enhanced administrative oversight, so there's a $439,000 additional on their budget. Importantly, on the mental health, we have the Loris Law, to where the serious mentally ill individuals are ordered to have outpatient treatments. And then the medical growth post ACA, starting from April 2012, going to 2017. Now it's really leveling off. So it's doubled, but then it's now on that percentage, 0.7%. And then on the continued on the community well-being, we have public services, the waiver, discuss the animal services. We've had the city contract rates. We have had established contract rates with them that would help out on the general overall cost for running the animal services department. Homelessness.
Thank you. I'll just jump in. So a couple things that your board funds countywide. Again, that's the Homeless Prevention Rapid Rehousing Program, which has been incredibly successful. And from a cost-effective standpoint, it costs $3,500, $4,000. But people who get housed under this, 80% of them stay housed 6 months later. So an excellent investment. As well as just a couple things, the Whole Person Care pilot program that the healthcare agency has been able to obtain and get additional funding that you're going to see tomorrow for that from the state. This is going to be revolutionary, and I want to say a quarter to a third of those folks are homeless too. And then the recuperative care, which is a brand new program, which is going to be great for all the hospitals, but the county VCMC through the Enterprise Fund is picking up half the cost of the recuperative care beds. And this is a brand new program. We've never had it before in the county, so this is big stuff. And then just lastly, the Healthcare for Homeless program. So all those great health centers that the healthcare agency has out in the community, they have, and there's a different definition between HUD and our clinic, the federal system that oversees our clinics. But there's over 13,000 patients that are determined to be homeless in those clinics that your board supports and that the agency runs.
Mr. Powers?
Yes.
Just wanted to make the request that if the HPRP funding, we never know exactly how much of that the demand will be for that as we go through the year. But anyway, if that funding gets reduced too much, if you'd let us know, and in terms of that, I'd like to be aware of that during the year.
Absolutely, of course. Thank you.
Supervisor Park.
And did some research. I participated in the Flag Day ceremony and made a little speech, but found out that we have just this last year put 25 veterans into permanent housing. So you're really seeing the results of helping the homeless.
Great.
And I can't leave this slide without just one last emphasis on the continuum of care group that's happening, which is, again, combining with our cities, our area housing authorities, community groups, and just, as I say, the private sector out there. So continuum of care board is making a big difference, and Christy and Tara and everybody support that very well. Thank you.
Supervisor Bennett? No. Parks? We're okay. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
You've seen this slide this morning already on the trend of the FTEs, as well as the total number of FTEs by departments and the cuts out there. And then on the good government, ISF, we have a modest rate increases in there, going up to the high credit rating, AAAs, and I think we've discussed this as well in this morning. And then inserted another slide here for county challenges. We had Santa Barbara, just to share with you what's going out there. Santa Barbara has 178 total FTEs reduction, and there is expected 20 million deficit in 18-19, and so on. So those are like what's going on the other side of the county. Here is the good government and financial stability. We have the county clerk recorder there of the $1 million set aside in our elections. I'm sorry, the auditor controller, we have added 2 additional senior financial analysts to help out for internal audit in the finance team. And on the CEOs, we have the Presagio for the disability management as well. Skipping that. And then for the land and use infrastructure, general plan update, we have set aside $4.4 million. We have used a portion of that so that the remaining balance is $2 million. We have the RMA, an increase in the new fixed-term employees for inspectors and technicians. And we continue on for the Ag Commissioner, Supervisor Parks. You've asked this morning what's the funding for those 4 additional inspectors, and they're coming from the fees from additional inspections, the unclaimed gas tax revenue, and the peers disease control program that we discussed this morning. And you've seen this. These are the different capital projects on what's going on and that's completed during the 2016-17, and then also the capital projects in process. We have the Todd Road Jail and the P-Tax, 13.3, which is internally developed with those 3 departments combined together with IT. And then again, the $750,000 for the Presagio for the leave of absence tracking. And then, so there's our different projects. The Camarillo Airport, which is the 41 hangars, estimated to be completed in December 2018. And then we have those fire stations And then the 4 million Harbor Administration Building, right now they're in two structures and they would want to combine the enclosed courtyard. There's the Animal Services in Camarillo that's under a recommended project also for the additional kennels and isolation building. And then the non-general fund, we have the the new fire station, Thousand Oaks. That's the one in Avenida de los Arboles. I think I said that. And then we have the Blackhawk water dropping helicopter acquisition, which is designed to have 1,000 gallons capability. And then the fader wing remodel is coming up soon. And then there's the under one roof healthcare facility in Santa Paula. And then the government center's fuel replacement project that will update it to a single wall to double wall. And then this morning we have discussed some of these items also on the 500,000 need for the Potrero Road for design and environmental work. And then we have an estimated $1.5 to $2 million going forward for the future projects on that. And then we have under consideration the Fillmore Library Committee meeting room, which is 2,000 square feet. And then we've also have discussed this morning. Just a breakdown of where we are in general fund, non-general fund. It's growing by $6 million from post-preliminary adjustments. Now it's $2.243 billion. And this is the breakdown of the additions from to Exhibit A. And we went through this also this morning of the HSA's reduction, and then the 57,000 the county council add, and then we have the special accounts and contribution for the farm worker research program, and going on the IHSS the 6.62 because of the re-estimation of the May revise, and the airport or the $10.3 million, which includes 9.5 for the Northeast Hangar development, and then the reduction in the FTEs. So altogether, we concluded the budget is a living document. We do have weekly board meetings and quarterly updates that's provided to your board. And as you can see, again, the contributions to the county workforce, we've emphasized that. And as a summary, here we are, the diligent management, board direction and support. I'll pause. I've never given back Powers a credit. Over 10 years, this is my first time to say this. And truly, look at him. I'm embarrassing him now. I'm in trouble. Yeah, and I think his leadership and his guidance inspires us to do our best. And I think this budget really, truly means perfection because of his leadership. And really, truly thank him. Sorry, Mike. Did it. And so here we are. It resulted in a balanced budget. And altogether, we say that we're responsive delivery of public service. And that concludes my presentation.
And I second the motion on Mr. Powers. He's done a very, very good job. Thank you. Again, we opened the public hearing, and I have a couple of speakers, and I'd like to call them 3 minutes apiece. And we have Jan Marholt. Marholt. Jan, you're up 3 minutes, and then followed by Aaron Entrim. 3 minutes.
Mr. Powers and supervisors, I'm Jan Marholin, 5547 Lafayette Street, Ventura. I'm here tonight. I'm the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clara Valley, and I'm representing Piru Club. With your contribution of $150,000, we're able to provide youth services and youth programs to after school to the kids in Piru. I know you saw a slide earlier today that showed 40 youth. That was the number we anticipated when we opened. This October, we will be open 2 years, and currently our daily attendance ranges between 57 and 75 or 80, and we have over 140 members that are signed up. There is no other program like that in Piru. You have the school that has an after-school program, but by state contract, they're not allowed to go over a certain amount. So all the kids that we serve are ones that cannot get into the school program. There is nothing else in Piru. You have a school, you have a church, you have Pancho's Tacos, a pizza place, and the Arco on the 126. That's it. And what we're able to do with your contribution is provide services and resources to give these kids life skills. Our budget this year was $174,000. I was able to write a couple grants. I know I ran the financials today. We're at $181,000, and it'll easily be $190,000 by the end of June. And the extra money is absorbed by funding from my other two clubs. So as you can tell, it runs a lot over your $150,000 contribution. We don't charge membership. It's a federally designated underserved area. Our membership of $35, we do not charge because they could not pay it. I just can't thank you enough for what we do down there. The kids, we are open now 2 nights a week for our teens. The teens get off the bus, they go to Fillmore for middle school and high school, and when they come back to Piru, they actually come down to the club because they know it's a safe place to be. They can use the computer equipment, and we have staff there that can help them finish their work and their resources. So I want to thank you and tell you at any time we're willing to come and do a presentation for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Aaron Antrim.
Good evening, Chair Zaragoza, Supervisors, CEO Powers. Thank you very much. I'm Erin Antrim, CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Oxnard and Port Hueneme. And just in response to the slide that was shown earlier, we're very grateful for your ongoing support. And I know that you understand the needs of the kids in Nyland Acres. I just want to tell you a quick story about Anthony. He's 11 years old, and he joined our club 3 years ago because his parents were looking for a safe place for him and 2 of his siblings to go after school. Both of his parents are field workers, and they want a brighter future for their kids. Academic success is a high priority, but he struggled with a language barrier and shy demeanor that kept him from asking for help. When he joined the club, Anthony was paired with a staff member who has become his mentor. Eric introduced Anthony to technology, where he's learned skills of computer literacy, digital arts, 3D printing, and an underwater aquatic robotics program, and Image Makers, which is a photography program. Over the last 3 years, Anthony has developed into a strong student and formed many great friendships at the Nyland Acres Boys and Girls Club. His reading level has increased from a 4th grade level to an 8th grade level, and he is now in the GATE program at school. He used to be too shy to play with other kids. Now he spends 3 to 4 days a week at the club, building confidence and learning from his mentors. And we could not do that at Nyland Acres if it wasn't for all of you. You make a commitment to kids every day. You saw this a little bit earlier. We have over 140 young people enrolled at the Boys and Girls Club at Nyland Acres, with 100 kids coming every day. And like Jan said, there is nothing else in Nyland Acres. There is nothing else for the kids to do. And if they weren't at the Boys and Girls Club, statistics show crime between 3 and 6 o'clock spikes. And for the sheriffs and the probation folks here in the room, they could tell you the same thing. Early prevention is our best investment. And for every dollar invested into Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Oxnard and Port Hueneme, there's a $17 return on investment. So thank you for your investment into the lives of kids and families of Nyland Acres. And we couldn't do this without our partnership, and we're willing to do any kind of presentation or annual, monthly reporting. We capture this data on an annual and monthly basis. So whatever it takes. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. And just for the board, real quick, there was a couple of kids that went onto the university from your program, and I'm not sure if it was Berkeley or Stanford, but I know that because of your program, they made it, and so I just want to thank you for the excellent work that you did.
Thank you, Supervisor. Yeah, 10 seniors this year, all 10 graduated. 100% on-time grade progression at Nyland Acres.
Beautiful.
Every kid advanced on time to the next grade, and we're proud of that.
Thank you, Erin. I opened the public hearing. I don't have any additional speakers. I'm not sure if anybody else would like to speak. If not, I'm going to close the public hearing. Catherine, do you want to share? I'm going to close the public hearing at this time then. And the next item is budget deliberation. Before deliberation begins, adopt any recommended budget adjustments. And Exhibit A as follows. The budget adjustment consists of appropriations, revenues, permanent positions as summarized on a separate page, Exhibit A, and hereby adopt for inclusion in the budget. So what's a pleasure of the board? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, that's approved. Then our next item is file any written description of deliberation adjustments, if any. I don't think we have any, right? No? Then the other one is adopt a deliberation of adjustments, if any. None? So then I'm going to close the public hearing. Our next item here is adopt the fiscal year 2017-18 budget resolution. This is by motion to adopt the budget resolution, including adoption of the GAN limit, Prop 4, and Laura's Law resolution as follows. And we'll do number 1, then we'll vote separately. Move approval of the resolution adopting the Ventura County General Fund and other funds budgets for fiscal year 2017-18, the GAN limit, Proposition 4, resolution, and Laura's Law resolution. So we need a motion for that. Got a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay. That's approved. Our next item is move approval of the resolution adopting the budget for the Ventura County Fire Protection District for fiscal year 17 and 18. And we need a motion. Motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, our last item is move approval of the resolution adopting the budget for Ventura County Watershed Protection District for fiscal year 2017-2018. We need a motion. A motion. Please vote. That has been approved. And our last item, any board comments before we adjourn? Supervisor Parks?
I think we're lucky out in the Conejo Valley where the Boys and Girls Club just received a $1 million contribution from one individual foundation and raised $2 million at their last event. So, but you realize in other areas there isn't that same kind of wealth. And I don't think the Boys and Girls Clubs, share those funds across the different Boys and Girls Clubs. So I can see where there is the need, and obviously your discussion about the benefits are well known here at the board that approved this last year too. Overall, I just think this budget is really a reflection of our Board of Supervisors, representing districts far and wide. And it's also a reflection of the good fiscal staff that we have and our fiscal conservative policies here at the board. And it's also really, most importantly, a reflection, I think, of our residents too. And I'm glad that we are able to be in the position where we are today, where we aren't having the major layoffs that you're seeing in our counties on both sides of our borders here. So I think we are in good stead, and we have some great projects coming forward. And again, just thank you so much for the staff for your due diligence and putting this together for us, and the good work of our fiscal staff and supervisor and the supervisors and Mike Powers. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. Again, I also want to thank all of you, as I mentioned this afternoon. This doesn't happen overnight. It's just hard work that you guys do, and all the agencies and all the directors and all the employees, and we have almost 9,000 employees, and I just want to thank all of them for that too. And Catherine and Mr. Powers, your budget team, did an excellent job, and I can see all the kudos there. And I just want to share again our excellent rating that we have, credit rating. And for the people that are watching TV, this is our FICO score. What's the highest FICO score? About 890 or so? We're 900. Again, I want to thank you so much, and thank you for the excellent presentation, and for the Boys and Girls Club of Oxnard, and also Piru, Simi Valley, and the rest of the boys clubs. Thank you so much. Anything else, Michael?
Just real quick, Chair Zaragoza, So thank you for the support to the entire board. I do want to thank, real quickly, Coach Catherine, Kay Mann, the entire fiscal budget team, also all the departments and all their fiscal teams. I mean, just month after month of these complex meetings happen. The Auditor Controller's Office, Jeff, Jill Ward, Joanne McDonald, all your whole team, the amount of numbers they have to deal with is kind of mind-boggling when you think about it. All the cities rolled together are only a third of the size and the complexity of the county, and that's the work that you all have to do. So you've made it seem seamless tonight, but it's all because of the hard work. Was it Mark Twain said, "I'm sorry this letter's so long. If I had more time, it would have been shorter," right? And so you make it, you get us to this point. And to your board, thank you for your fiscal discipline. I mean, when we meet with the bond rating agencies, they can see it, and that's what gets us that top rating. So thank you.
And I want to thank you. The budget has been approved,